Why do Americans drive such huge cars? Because our fuel efficiency laws are less restrictive the larger the car is. It is difficult to make a small car that meets high efficiency standards for a certain price, but easy and profitable to make large car to much lower standards for the same price. Because it'll be more cozy when we're homeless. Ford Ranger owner here, but I'm Canadian. For a lot of people, the answer is winter and distance. Where I live, we get 8 to 11 feet of snow, plus ice and wind. A bigger car or a good 4WD like Subaru is a big advantage in bad weather. Also, distances in North America are huge compared to Europe. For me personally, it's mostly because I own show horses. I know that Europe has horse lorries and various diesel engines able to tow a couple of horses, but those are unavailable here. And with the great distances, a pickup truck is the best option. Everyone else has really solid points, but I always assumed it's because we don't have a very sophisticated public transportation system, and the country is huge compared to European countries, so it kind of forces the average American family into needing a car to get around, which requires more space for comfort since you're using the vehicle so frequently. They have wider roads and cheaper fuel than most of the developed world, so in short, because they can. Honestly, as an American, I have no idea. It's an obscenely stupid trend. A lot of these answers are right, but here's a different perspective. I'm moving back to America soon after living abroad for a while, and we need to buy a new car, and big ones are what's for sale. That's it. It's way harder to find small ones, and even if you do, it's not such a big jump up in price to just get something a little bigger. It just feels like you're supposed to. That said, there are a lot of small ones. Priuses etc. are everywhere. But we have big wide roads and bigger ones are for sale everywhere. It was a situation where the government allowed tax breaks on light trucks with the thought process being people would use them for work. So if the vehicle was over 6,000 pounds, you basically got it with a 25,000 deduction, and it was dirt cheap. Car manufacturers picked up on this and started making luxury light trucks. So business owners started snapping them up because they were cheap and using them as personal vehicles. This led to a situation where non-business owners had to purchase larger vehicles to not get crushed. It's a shitty cycle of now vehicles are too large and dangerous, so I have to get a larger vehicle to survive an impact. A Ranger is not a full-size truck though. Pickup trucks and SUVs are because of CAFE emissions standards. Not sure why OP called them cars. Crying in Nissan Kicks 2021. Our car seat can barely fit behind my 58 husband. Most regular people only have the option to buy used cars, and most people who buy regular cars buy bigger cars. Part of it is that car companies wanted to get around fuel efficiency requirements, but also kind of upper middle class suburban Republican small business owners were targeted with effective propaganda campaigns during the Bush-Roman 2 years about how wanting to save on gas was un-American, a statement on not supporting the troops during the Iraq War, etc. Owning a big car, especially a truck, even if you don't haul anything and use the extended cab primarily the way people used a minivan when they had kids years ago to have more room for car seats and diaper bags and groceries and stuff, is also seen as a statement about not being citified and pretentious and lacking touch with your roots. Even if you also grew up in a suburb or a wealthier family that lived out of the way primarily to take advantage of cheap gas and not because you were doing farm labor or construction or anything. I know in my Midwestern state SUVs and pickups are all considered commercial vehicles. Essentially, a soccer mom Escalade is classified as farm equipment. I drive a Suburban. I have big dogs, 140 pounds Great Dane, 80 pounds Bloodhound, try fitting them in a hatchback. We travel a bit, taking the dogs with us, and now have a 3-year-old. It's just handy having all the space when needed. I get in the 20s mpg range and don't drive far for work. My wife has a small wagon though, so we have one big one small. Plus I feel safer in larger vehicles. I'd rather be hit by a big truck in my Suburban than in a little car. We also take trips with friends and it's nice to all fit in one vehicle. There's other reasons too, but those are the main ones. They are obnoxious and unnecessary, and I grew up in the era of giant Cadillacs and Buicks. Today's beasts are ugly and close to the size of a Sherman tank. 9 out of 10 times there's one person driving in a vehicle capable of holding 8. When asked why, the answer is usually because they have to put Billy's hockey equipment in the back once a week. It's an ostentatious display of wealth, and it forces an arms race of bigger and bigger vehicles, and we all end up paying for it through fewer parking spaces, worse roads, higher gas prices, and decreased safety and visibility for everyone else that wants to drive a normal car. Here's a different perspective. A majority of US citizens are overweight, so a bigger car SUV minivan works better. Also, if you have kids and need to haul them to after-school activities with gear, an SUV makes sense. Or, if you're into gardening on the weekends, an SUV minivan is great for hauling dirt. And if you have a family, an SUV minivan will contain a ton of groceries. Nothing more American than vapid materialistic excess. Because some places we have to drive our hours away. Driving for hours in a tiny car is not comfortable and also need room for luggage. The main issue is that those are the only cars we are able to buy because that's all they sell. There are some regulatory reasons for why that's all they sell. Many companies now only sell trucks, and SUV in the United States. They don't even sell normal cars.